welcome to the TimePodcast. I'm Adam Parker. I'm here with Jim Parkman, and we have a special guest today, famous actor, comedian, television and film personality, Andy Dick.
Hi, how are you?
Doing
I'm
good.
fine.
I'm good.
Fine. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm good.
What you got working on? Anything new? Because I want to get into one of my favorites in a minute. So what have you got going on?
I'm working on a couple movies. I
Great.
almost finished one. They just have me come in and, act. And then I'm about to jump into two other movies. And then I do a lot of podcasts, a lot of my friends' podcasts. It's so funny. I can't even look at you because you look like Bob Odenkirk doing a character on like the Ben Stiller show back in the day.
Wow.
Funny.
You should look that up. You really do.
Andy, I know you were born in South Carolina, Charleston, great city.
Yeah, but I was only born there. I only lived there for like a month.
What I'd like to know is for you to explain to the people listening, how did you get in to, television shows, movies, voiceover? I mean, we'd be here the rest of the day naming everything you've done. Yeah. I mean, but how did you get into that?
Really, it's because I think my personality was so crazy because I moved around a lot because my dad was in the Navy. He was a lieutenant commander on a submarine. So we moved a lot. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, we moved once a year from when I was born until 10. So that's like 10 times in a decade. And then we continued to move until I finally moved to LA and I've been here ever since. But first I moved to Chicago, then I moved to LA. But what I was trying to say is that while I moved, hopping around place to place to place to place, I would have to make friends. So I would have to, turn on my personality. Otherwise, I was nothing. And also, when you're the new person, people come up at you, and they're like, "Who's this guy?" And then either I'm going to be funny or not funny, or entertaining or not entertaining, or interesting or not interesting. And I always chose, interesting, funny, entertaining, all that. And so I made friends quickly, and I learned I learned that I was naturally kind of funny, that people laughed, and they were always laughing, but I never understood why. It was just my personality, I guess. It's just so crazy. Yeah. And girls.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, there were girls always in my neighborhood who were like, "You were so weird and funny. We want to put you in these little scenes and these plays in our neighborhoods." They put me in plays.
Oh, yeah.
For the parents, our parents, and we would put on these shows. And that's kind of how I got into it. I never left it because I didn't really learn anything else. And then I went to school for it, and, stuff like that.
When did you actually break into the business?
High school, you were well liked because you got voted like what? Best senior, best person, best whatever.
Homecoming king,
which is hard to do. I mean, that's not easy. And so you had to be well liked. Come on.
Yeah, I was. I mean, people liked me a lot.
Hey, Andy, I got a question. When did you actually? Because I know I'm younger. I'm 34. Jim won't say his age because he gets upset, but you're in between us.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I'm a kid, early teenager. You're in a ton of movies in the early 2000s, late 90s on TV all the time. When did you actually break into the business? Because I grew up watching you.
Well, I was getting into that. Wait, how old? So you're 34. How old is your friend?
Oh, Jim doesn't want to say. Jim, do you want to say how old you are?
I'll tell him. I'm 72, and so Andy,
you look good.
My favorite show of all, one of the favorite shows of all time. I'm not just saying this to you because you're on, but Newsradio was absolutely one of the funniest shows on TV.
It was a good one.
It was a very good one. I was very, very disappointed It ran, I think, about 4 years, maybe. And they for some stupid reason, they took it off the air. But it had a lot, and you were one of the principal characters on there and played a great role. And I just thought it was a great program.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really good show, and a lot of everybody was great on that show, actually.
Yes.
And then of course there was the Phil Hartman
yeah.
whole thing, and it just that was a fun time. But
well, what's interesting, and I'm saying this, what's interesting about Mr. Hartman, of course, I don't know if people know this, he was a star just like you. He passed away, and then they replaced him, and the show continued to be good. Now, the reason I say that, Andy, is because there are a lot of sitcoms on TV that they replace people and it doesn't work.
Right.
But your show, Newsradio, did. It continued on and continued well. I guess my question for you is, why did it go off the air? What drove
Well, it only went on for one more year.
Yeah.
And then I think people weren't getting along. I don't really remember exactly why it went off the air, but probably it just boiled down to ratings. The ratings probably dropped when Phil, because Phil died, that, and then so all of a sudden we were just there. We were only 4 years into this show or whatever, and then Phil died, and we're like, well, what are we gonna do? He was the reason I did the show. I took that show because I heard he was on it, and I was very excited about that.
Oh, well, I mean, y'all did. Y'all played against each other very well, but I'm letting you know, I thought even with the replacement, it's still the potential and the comedy was still there. It wasn't like it just fell off.
It was. You're right. It was still there because it was John Lovitz.
Yeah.
And he was good and he was funny and he still is funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there was it was just very strange because I think because of the fact that Phil was murdered, I think that made the show kind of weird after that for everybody, audience.
And I'm glad you said that because that makes sense now. And I guess I guess, Andy, it took a lot out of all of it. Like you said, it happened quick.
It was harsh. It was one of the worst times of my life, and it was right on the tail. I can't remember who died first, but it was right when Chris Farley died, and they were both my very, very good friends, and they died within a year of each other.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing about Phil, and I don't know if you know this, Jim, but I think Phil actually played one of the greatest attorneys of all time. And Andy may know who I'm talking about, but Phil was the voice of Lionel Hutz.
What's that? Was that on a cartoon?
Yeah, that was The Simpsons, the attorney on The Simpsons, the bumbling attorney. Phil was the voice of Lionel Hutz.
Oh, okay. I never knew what part he played.
Yeah. Well, you've played voiceovers for Disney and other shows too.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. How do you like that? I mean, to me, that would be hard. I don't know why, but I just think about trying to talk and there's nobody there. I don't know how you do it. I guess you need to tell me how you do it and how are you able to pull that off?
Well, there's different ways that they do it because it depends on the production company. Whether because you're right, I was in Disney movies.
Yeah.
A bunch of them. I'm in The Lion King too. Did you know that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And, God, I can't remember all the other Disney movies. Sorry, I'm walking around my house.
Be here the rest of the day.
I can Google you and find out real quick. Let's see what Andy was in Disney.
There's too many. There's too many. But what I was going to say is, it depends on how you asked me how they do it.
Yeah.
It depends on the production company. Some production companies have it all written out, and it's just you come in and you just do your lines, and they make you do your lines, and they don't want you to improvise, which is not cool for them because you want me to improvise. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You get extra bang for your buck if you let me improvise. So you can either come into the set and, on into the sound studio. I'm trying to find a place to sit that has a good background.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, this is a rocking chair. That might be comfortable. Also, it's hard for me to see because I usually have bifocals. And so I can't see you guys that well. And is it better if I go like this?
That's fine for us, man. Look great, Andy.
No, but I mean, like this or like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, this is what happens when you have a comedian on the show, Jim. They kind of screw with you a little.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about I'm flipping my phone. Look, can't you see? No, I'm trying to
tell Andy, don't put on glasses and look at him, okay?
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. I can't see him anyways. But so wait, what were we talking about?
We're talking about how different companies do your voiceovers, and you were talking about the fact, which I totally agree with you. You got to have some sort of authority to do extra, and make it a little funnier, make it a little more, on the line, instead of just reading a line and not being able to improvise.
Yeah. Authority, you can say that, or just the talent to do it,
Yeah.
And talent can come from experience. Like I've been doing it for so long, speaking of voiceovers, one of my first things I ever did, I was like 7 years old, in, I guess, first grade. And if that's when you're 7, I can't remember. But in first grade, I asked my teacher if I could put on a puppet show because my parents bought a new refrigerator and they had a big cardboard box. And I cut a window out of it up a little high, and I could stick my hands in and do these sock puppets out of it. And I said, and I thought it would be cool for my friends to see a show if I did a show and brought the box in. And my teacher let me, and she said, sure. And I did Rikki Tikki Tavi. Have you ever heard of that?
I remember that. Yeah, that's the mongoose, the Indian story.
Yeah, exactly. The mongoose. And the cobra, I think, the mongoose and that was easy to do for sock puppets because they both look like, a mongoose and a cobra have the same body type kind of, and they look like you can make them out of sock puppets. So I did a whole Rikki Tikki Tavi with sock puppets, and that was really the beginning of me wanting to do this forever.
How did it go?
They loved it. They were laughing, and I got bit by the bug. I got bit by that bug right then and there. They were laughing, and I'm like, wow, this is just so fun.
See, Jim, it's almost like it makes me think of like you or I, courtroom. Jurors start to eat it up when you may make a particularly colorful argument. You can tell people are enjoying it. You get a little bit of a high off of it. Do you also get that high if you can tell people are enjoying your performance, Andy?
Well, yeah, that's you hit it on the head. Like you love it when you're up there in the courtroom, and I've been in the courtroom too. It's always I almost feel bad when I go to court because I have an advantage because I perform a lot, and I know that's what everybody's doing from the judge on down. The judge is even kind of playing a part.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. But do you think that like the puppet show, it kind of gave you a fever?
Yeah,
to continue on and to do that? Because I guess my question is, you left Chicago, went to Los.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that leave and go to Los Angeles looking for network movies, and they don't get them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty risky. That's the way I look at it. I don't know about you at the time when you did it.
It was very risky, and everybody told me not to do it. My parents, everybody, my teachers, nobody wanted me to do it, and I went by myself.
Wow.
And it actually did take a good 4, maybe 5 years before I really kind of landed it. but that's a long time. It's like going, but then if you think about it, not really, because you go away to college. And that was the thing, is that I was about to go to college. I did go. I went for a year. I went to Columbia College in Chicago, and I went to University of Illinois. And I just said, I got to get out. I can't do this. I can't go to college. I really want to be on stage acting.
Yeah.
And I did. I just moved out to LA, dropped out of school, and it was just much to the chagrin of everybody in my life. And
what did you do for 5 years, though? You know, I guess you're going to auditions and everything, but how are you making a living?
Well, that's the thing, is that because I moved out by myself, I had every job you could think of, from, you know, I was a bus boy and a delivery boy, and I delivered food, and I delivered, I remember I had a really good job I liked, because I was delivering movie posters to studios. Wow. So that was kind of cool. I would get on studios, and then and what I did, this is one of the ways I did, because I was trying to think of how am I going to get anybody to, you know, even know I'm an actor. You know, it was hard to get an agent. I didn't have one. In fact, that's why I moved out to Chicago, because there was a woman who said that she would be my agent. And as soon as I moved out from Chicago, when I moved to that was the thing, is that I moved to Chicago first, you know, and then LA. And both of them were very extremely difficult, really hard moves for me. But there was a promise. That's what it was. A promise of an agent in LA. But when I got here, with all my bags packed, I had bought a used car and everything, and I was set to just land here and become a star. The agent said they didn't want me. And I said, but I started crying in the office. I'm like, no, but you don't understand. I bought a car for $1,000 and I have no money. And I moved out here because you said you were going to, you know, that I was going to be a client. Yeah. And they changed their mind.
So,
you know, that brings us to the question of what makes you keep going. I mean, that's devastating. I mean, you move out, somebody says, come out here, we'll get you some jobs, we'll handle you. And you get out there and they go, nah, we don't want you anymore.
I know. Isn't that unbelievable? And it should be illegal. But honestly.
Yeah. So what possessed you to keep going? I mean,
it goes all the way back to the little puppet show, because I continued to do that. The neighborhood girls, like I said, would put us in these weird little shows. Yeah. And then I started putting on shows. I started making movies. I bought a Super 8 movie camera when I was 9. I bought one and I made little movies. And then I would have I would put all the kids in the neighborhood, and I was just a kid too. And I would make movies with all my friends. And then I would charge them 25 cents to come see the movie in my basement that they were in.
So Andy, we
hey Andy, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Hey Andy, so we talk about like the trials and tribulations people face and how they overcome them. Do you think coming out here with the agent and all, was that one of the bigger trials you faced, especially at that point in your life?
Yeah, because I really thought it was going to happen right away. And like I said, it didn't happen for 5 years. Yes. And so I had to get every job you could think of, from what I was saying earlier. And I did lots of fun, weird jobs, and just difficult jobs and dumb jobs. And then one of the things I remember was when I would take these jobs, I would take a job where I knew I could still audition, because I would land auditions by looking in what was, I don't know if it's still around, but it's called Backstage West and Dramalog. And in the back, they would have auditions, not that many, and mostly for plays. But sometimes it was for like an industrial film, which means like a film made for a company. Like if Nabisco made a company film to show their employees, they had actors in those. So I did a bunch of industrial films and a lot of weird, odd acting jobs. And I did a lot of commercials. Did you know that?
I did
No.
not know that.
Like a lot. Like in Chicago, I worked for Joe Suttlemeyer, who I did 9 commercials with him alone. And he's the guy that did the Where's the Beef commercials.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that. Absolutely.
So he was but I wasn't in that, but he was a very big director who really liked my look, because that was one of the things I had going for me, was not just my personality or whatever that people seemed to like, but my look, because I looked different, I looked a little odd and just different.
Well, but I'll tell you this, what would you give advice to young people that are saying the same thing you did? I'm packing up. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to be a star.
To stick with it. Like, the other thing is that you don't have to just do that. Like, I started doing other things, and my acting was not just, I was really just going to do plays and then bleed into TV and movies. And but now I do all of it, and I do all of it all the time. I still go on stage a lot. They're all so very different. But what I would tell somebody that is really just going to pack up and just whatever is going to pack up and go do, you got to stick with it, because it really did take me 5 years before I landed something big.
During the 5 years, was there time you wanted to throw in the towel?
Yes. In fact, I was already out here in LA. So there were times when I did just say, screw it. I cannot do this. And that's when I would, take on jobs. But then something would always come around that gave me hope for another year, maybe.
Do you think those jobs you took on, do you think they helped you with your acting later on? Work an average Joe job. You might be working at a Costco, and then you get a job or a film role such as the Employee of the Month, where you're working in something kind of similar to that. Could you relate back to an experience such as working at a retail?
Yeah, because I worked in Kmart, which is very much like which is like the movie Employee of the Month. I worked.
At
Kmart.
I worked at Kmart.
You do?
I did. I worked at Kmart. That was my first job.
What did you do?
And I did everything from stocking to I worked in electronics and sporting goods. So what about you? What was your Kmart job?
Stock boy, like you. Everybody starts there, I guess. And then I moved over. I don't remember how or why. I think I became friends with somebody. Some woman was the manager of the shoe department. Remember how the shoe department was different?
Yeah.
It was a different company than Kmart. So Kmart, they had these inner companies, and one of them was the shoe department that wasn't theirs. Isn't that weird?
I remember when I worked there, which was probably years after you did. I remember you could get Shaq shoes. Everybody wants Jordan shoes for basketball, but you could get Shaq at Kmart.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's weird how we can see our histories just by where we work. How long did you work there?
I think I was there for about a year or two, because I started high school, and then I actually worked a little bit in college there.
Yeah, me too. About a year or two. It was it was fun. Then I made a song out of it, actually, about working at I don't remember how the song went, but worked at the Big Red K double. Anyways, I sang it on Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh wow!
Remember when Rosie had a show? So I was on her show about 5 times, and then I wrote a song describing that job. You should look that up. I wonder if it's online.
I'll do it. Well, sure, we can find it.
Everything's on YouTube, man.
Yeah, everything.
I know, right?
But so I'd love to hear it. Did you? Were you musically? I know it indicates you're a musician, but were you like an instrument musician or singing, voice, or what?
Singing, but really my voice is more character-y. But I can sing and then write the music. I write it and I write the lyrics.
Okay.
There are at least 2 of your appearances on Rosie O'Donnell that are on YouTube now. So if you want to relive some memories.
Okay, I'll look through them later, I guess. I really don't like going back and looking at my own stuff.
I mean,
you like watching you act?
Do I like watching me?
Yeah, like would you turn on the news radio show, let's say, when it came on?
If it happened to come on and I was with people that wanted to watch it or something,
okay.
But I don't really go back and look at my stuff. I just don't. I'm always trying to move forward.
I was gonna say, are you your own worst critic?
No, I can always look at it and go, oh, I see why people liked it so much.
Yeah.
Because I worked really, really hard at what at acting, and I worked very hard at what I do. Still worked very hard at it.
Well, during the 5 years that you were out working, did you go to any? That they say now that you're supposed to go to these schools and classes that teach you how to act. Did you get into that too?
Yeah, I took classes in Chicago at Second City, which is where, Second City, very, very famous improv. That's where I got most of my training, actually. Second City in Chicago, and the Improv Olympic, which was a kind of an offshoot of the Second City. And I actually joined the Second City touring company. So I was in the Second City. So Second City is where like John Belushi came from, and Dan Aykroyd and Chris Farley, who, became a very close friend of mine later in life because of my Second City connection.
Wow. Do you think it helped as far as learning?
Well, it helped him. I was already a big star on Newsradio, and he was just coming up, you see. So he was looking to me for advice, and he was coming to me because we both were from Second City, but he was 10 years or more below me. And so I gave him a lot of advice and helped him out a lot. So it really helped him. And it helped me because I had a really great friend, but then of course he died.
Yeah. How would you, like we see actors on the, movies or the TV, or my question to you would be, what's Andy like? I mean, what are you like once the camera's off and you go to, are you any different than what we see?
When I was younger,
yeah,
you couldn't turn the cameras off. In my mind, there were always like, it wasn't like there were cameras on, but I was always performing when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like I always was on, and I always felt like I needed people to pay attention to me, or I needed to be making them laugh, because I like to make people laugh. That it makes me feel good when other people are laughing. But now it's more, but it's because I'm 57.
Yeah,
I'm just more relaxed, and I can't be turned on all the time, And here's my life now. You can see it right now. I'm in my ex's house with my son lives here too. Yeah, and then I live over there, and this is the living room, and there's the TV, and look, there's a Pikachu.
Hey, my kids got that same Pikachu, I think.
I love it. I'm reading a People magazine that is coming to this house, but it's not ours. When things come and say, and then I have this bag of this weird sesame nuts and dark chocolate and the remote and water. It's so boring. My life is, what I'm trying to say is that it's just a normal, boring kind of
normal average guy, yet successful actor. And I know we're
thanks.
getting close to the end, so I'll do our normal exit question for you.
Yeah.
Before you get to that, you asked me in the beginning, but I wasn't really fully aware. I haven't had any coffee yet, by the way. But there is a movie. But my problem is I can't remember what it's called. I'm in the middle of it right now, and they would love it if I promoted it. I just can't remember.
Oh, let me look at your IMDb, man. It says you got
it's not out yet.
But it says you got upcoming roles. Is it Shadow Stalkers? That's a video.
Wait, I think I think it is the Shadow Stalker.
That's a video game. It says you got upcoming.
Oh no, that's not.
Hollywood
No,
Werewolf.
it's a movie. It's a movie that hasn't come out yet. We're in the middle of filming it.
Well, these say they're in development. The in between years.
No.
Love Cat.
No. How many movies? Wait a minute. How many movies are in development? I don't know if this is true.
Hey, Alien Vampire Busters.
No.
Now, Mega Race Deathmatch. Shadow Stalkers, it says, is a video game, but it says it's in production.
No, now I can't remember what it's called. I mean, I couldn't in the first place.
You ready for the exit question we try to ask everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the Trial Time Podcast. Jim and I are trial lawyers, but not all trials we face in our life are in the courtroom. You know, some are in court, some are out. We've asked Riddick Bowe this question. We asked Kevin Harrington this question last week. With the trials and tribulations you faced, what's one of the bigger trials you had to go through in your life? How did you get through it? And what message would you give to viewers watching today that may be facing a similar trial? And if we've already touched on it, that's fine, but tell us.
We have, but it's okay to re-talk about things because it's really, for me, a lot of it. Well, first of all, with me and acting and whoever's out there thinking they want to get into anything and get anywhere and anywhere, just don't give up. That's the simple answer to that. Just don't give up, obviously. But the other thing is that when these bumps happen in the road, like when your friends die, like my friends die, those can be big blows.
Ooh,
to your parents dying, your brother dying, like when somebody very close to you, especially because my career was so part of my world that when somebody that I looked up to, like a Phil Hartman or Chris Farley, who I looked up to because even though I was 10 years ahead of him, he surpassed me. But I'd like to say, because I really helped him out, I gave him a lot of notes, and we became very, very good friends. I was constantly helping him and advising him, and he's just so effing funny that of course he was going to become a gigantic star, making $3 million a movie. I never made that. I never got to that.
Well, I think it's interesting, for you to say, just don't give up, just stay the course. And
Please,
that's hard to do, Andy. That's easy to say, but that's hard to do when you're in that situation.
Hard to do. It is
and
so
you went
true.
5 years, and you stayed the course, and it paid off.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Well, Andy, this has been just a delight. You're one of my favorites. I think you're hilarious, and I do that as a compliment. I think that is a rare thing to be able to make people laugh.
Thank you.
You've done that. Your career is just outstanding. So Andy, great to meet you.
Thank you. It's great to meet you, and I'd love to do your show anytime you guys are doing it. I'll do it.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
I tell you what, when you get the movie and get it ready to go out, let us know. We'll get you back on. Let's promote it.
Perfect. The producers and director will love that. So will I. It'll be great.
We'll do it. Andy, thank you so much.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.